So you went to jail,
Hmm.
you got sentenced, you went to prison,
Yeah.
and prison shaped you into becoming more of the person that you wanted to be. And then there's also this faith aspect.
Yeah.
Did you serve your entire sentence? And if so, when were you released?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I was sentenced to 13 years and I had a crime of violence. So because of that, it's mandatory, you have to do half of your time. So half of 13 was 6.5 years. So that was my timeline. I just kept saying to myself, if I can just get the 6.5 years, I have a shot at parole and I have a shot of coming home. So several months before parole, of course, I started to receive the letters,
Right.
notifying me of my upcoming parole date. I was a bit nervous, but I also knew that I was prepared because of all the work that I've done prior to getting to that point. So I went in for parole. I was granted parole, and you couldn't tell me anything because I knew I was
Turn
coming
up?
home.
Excitement?
It ain't turning up. You can't turn up. Yeah, not turning up. I was definitely elated. I only shared it with a few people. But I was excited to go home, just excited to put the work, everything that I actually wanted to do.
Right, and this was the meat of the pandemic when you found out this news of your release, right?
Yeah, so my release date was scheduled for, I believe, March or April of 2021. So from the time I had parole to my release date, it was about, I want to say 3 or 4 months, so I was just waiting. So imagine what that's like, spending all that time and now you're about to be free.
How did your family react to the news of you?
Come on now. I mean, how would you react if you had a loved one who was away and now they're coming home?
Right. So you find out you're getting released. Of course, there's a process with everything. It's not like they're just gonna say, "Oh, today's the day. You can just get out now." What was the process of getting released and getting ready for post-incarcerated life like?
The process for me?
Yes.
The process for me began, like I mentioned, far before my parole date. The process for me began once I met that gentleman many, many years ago. I knew what I wanted to do for work. I knew the person who I wanted to be. I was prepared. I felt like I was equipped and I was ready for my reentry. So for me, it wasn't really difficult to get ready. Prison was never in my mind. Even when I was in there, the outside world was always in my mind. I was just in that place, but mentally I was free.
And what did you want to do for work?
So because of my work at the Americans Vet Dogs Foundation, I wanted to open up a business, a company to train dogs. And also, I also wanted to address the food inequality in the cities as well. So that was another business that I was going to launch upon my release.
Right. And obviously, are those things that you currently pursue?
Yeah, so, man, life is funny. Upon my release, I started working at a restaurant.
Right.
And I was there for a couple of months, and a friend of mine gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I read the book, and for me, reading just really is a way to see the world through another window.
Right.
So I read the book, and I'm just learning everything, not just about finances, but about business. I'm like, my mind is just blown at this point. I was upset because it took me this long to get this knowledge, but I was also grateful because now I have it and I can just roll. So I read the book, and I quit my job like literally a couple of days after that. Yeah.
But like, what about your probation officer?
So my parole officer was really, really chill. So I was fortunate enough. So my first time meeting her, she said to me, she was like, "Mr. Shyngle, I already know that you're going to be someone that I'm not going to have a problem with." So I was on supervised parole. I'm not sure if I can say this or not, but
Wow.
I've only seen this lady once or twice. She's only drug tested me once. So she was okay with it. I told her I was going to quit my job. She said, "Fine, what's your plan?" I told her my plan, and then she said, "Okay, cool." So I quit my job, and then I dove into real estate.
Real estate.
Real estate. Only thing I knew about real estate was houses. I knew absolutely nothing about real estate.
Okay, so why did you choose real estate, and what is it like, especially given your past, being in, a field where people have to have so much trust in you and so much faith in you and rely on you with, one of their most prized possessions.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I chose real estate because I just don't see myself, and I spoke before about just seeing yourself, how you see yourself. I never saw myself as working for someone else. And as a real estate owner, as a business owner, I have the liberty to work for myself.
Right.
So I just dove right into real estate. That, the ability that you're able to help and impact more people with a really, really big decision, a really, really big purchase in their life. And I'll be lying if I don't mention the lifestyle as well.
Right, because you have a lot of flexibility and you're able to do other things and add other things to your plate. Is school one of those things? Because I know earlier you mentioned college, but of course, given the age in which you were arrested, you weren't able to finish. Are you now able to pursue that?
Yes, I was arrested when I was in college, community college, so I wasn't able to finish back then. So I'm actually in school now. I started last semester, and I'm going to school for business and pre-law. I've already been accepted into the University of Baltimore, so I'm going to be transferring there in the upcoming month. But yeah, it's hard doing school and real estate at the same time, but I know everything that I'm doing is actually not for me. It's for everybody who's going to come behind me.
Exactly. So do you see yourself as being somebody who's going to be a role model to those who are, maybe they're on a dangerous path, maybe they're currently incarcerated, and even those who are, about to be released and they're like, oh my God, what can I do? And then my second question for that is that at the crux of it, you are a Nigerian-American.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's other people who are Nigerian-Americans who, aren't incarcerated or have a record. How can your story show them that, yes, I can make something of myself despite what I've been through and what I've done?
Yeah, good questions. I definitely don't see myself as a role model. I want everybody to be their own role models. I want everybody to look up and admire themselves. So everything that I did during my incarceration, even after my incarceration, is leading up to help others who are coming behind me. Even from getting my real estate license, I had to jump through hurdles. I had to jump through so many hurdles just to get my license. I had to go in front of a board and tell them and convince them why I'm deserving to be licensed to practice real estate in the state of Maryland. And I'm sure for the other states that I plan to get licensed in, I will have to do the same as well. But I'm doing this to lay an example, to set an example for all others who are going to be coming behind me. So upon my release, I became active in the community. I volunteered at a nonprofit called Sharp Dressed Man. Sharp Dressed Man.
Very sharp.
Sharp Dressed, yeah, I appreciate that. And I actually saw them when I was in prison. I saw them on the news, and they specialize in fitting men who are going through hard times, coming out of prison with professional attire for interviews. So I volunteered for them. I developed other relationships in the community. So now these people knew about me. They're able to vouch for me as a character witness, so that now I can go in front of people and say, hey, yes, I do have this felony. However, I have this person backing me. I have that organization backing me. So all of this is to set an example for those that come behind me that say, hey, listen, no one's going to give you anything. You're going to have to give yourself first, and then everything else will come afterwards. And you did ask me another question as well.
Yes, my other question is about from a cultural standpoint.
Yeah.
In our culture, we know there's a lot of people who scam, there's a lot of people who do fraud, but, even despite the people in our community doing things that are deemed illegal, and it's kind of almost normalized. Of course, incarceration is not normalized, it's seen as a taboo. So how do you think that your experience and your story could be beneficial to other Nigerian-Americans, especially who have been in a position such as yours, whether they're a high school kid who's, they're just not listening, or they're currently incarcerated, or, they're about to be released and they're thinking, oh my God, what will my community say? What will people think of me?
Man, it was hard. For a long time, my mom didn't even tell people I was in prison because of the culture.
Right.
Whenever people would ask her, where am I? She would always say I'm in the military. I'm in the military. Even up till now, people would say, "Hey, Stan, I heard you in the military a couple years ago," and I would just have to like just not even address it because
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. But it was hard. My mom didn't share my incarceration story, and I felt the same way as well. I felt like I wasn't going to be accepted by my culture because it is taboo, it is frowned upon. But what I learned was we all make mistakes. I can't let someone else's opinion about me determine my future.
Right.
So my advice to anybody who is from a very, very cultural background, who has a cultural background, is yes, you're gonna have these people who are gonna say these things about you. They're gonna view you a certain way. They might not even want to deal with you afterwards, and that is okay. Just live your life.
Right. Be your best self.
Yeah, live your life.
All right. Thank you so much, Stanley. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story. We know that it might not have been easy given the sensitivity of the topic, but we believe that this can help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.